It's nearing Eid, the end of Ramadan, and the trains were full, and we had to stay a day in Casablanca. We'd been told not to go. My first impression? It's going to take more than a lick of paint to fix this place, but undeterred, we set about a whirlwind day trip to dig beneath the off-white facade. And it was quiet, too quiet, and then suddenly, a rush of people, all walking in the opposite direction to us, and I realised we'd come during prayer time. Laden with heavy backpacks and 35-degree heat, we took refuge in the only place even remotely like the movie. There is nothing that will make you feel more like a tourist with a weak constitution than going to a place that's based on a movie that wasn't even made in the location it's set. But to its credit, Rick's Cafe is actually quite impressive. The food's quite tasty, the staff are very friendly, and the riad it's in, tasteful and quite opulent. They've sort of gone for more of the feel of the movie Casablanca than actually just peppering it with everything. They've been pretty restrained on the movie touches. What waited beyond, however, a visual taste of the real Casablanca and its noirish contrasts. This is H2, €500 million in financing that the government didn't actually have on hand. And it is truly something marvel-worthy, but I can't help but think that maybe those funds are somewhat misdirected looking at the frame it sits in. One day isn't enough to close the chapter, which would serve as an interesting bookend to this trip, which continued on a train to Fez, which departed late in the day, so would take place over Iftar. On the train, they handed out a bottle of water and 3 dates, which is a traditional way to break fast. Others brought pizza, McDonald's, home cooking, anything to fill the gap. And amazingly, we, having eaten throughout the day, were still offered their food. That sort of shows you what they're like. The train advanced into the night, and we traced a line through the Moroccan countryside to Fez. It was late, so I filmed exactly 0 of our winding and weaving trip into our Airbnb, but when I awoke, wow, I was presented with the most beautiful kitchen I think I've ever worked in. If not a bit of a lighting nightmare, but whoa. Cooler still, Sayeed, the house manager, was there to cook us breakfast in the morning. And what a breakfast that we had on the rooftop. Just incredible. After Casablanca, this is exactly what was needed. This is Fez. It's exactly what you'd expect out of a Moroccan city. It's ancient, it's layered physically, but also, I suppose, culturally. But ultimately, it's just absolutely brimming with people and sights and smells and cats. Lots and lots of cats. We've landed on an Airbnb that, I haven't seen all the Airbnbs in here, but we've landed on an Airbnb that seems to be the nicest. We're in like a valley in the Medina, but the rooftop terrace goes all the way up to the point where like a little beacon standing out amongst all of these houses. And coming in last night, the Medina is a crazy place. You should see it. It's just like everything is on top of everything else. We took 5 left turns. I thought we'd gone full circle, but no, we were still weaving our way to the Airbnb. It's pretty crazy, but you can sort of see how after years and years and years of building on top of things and building on top of one another, that you develop a rather tight look and a tight culture. So the plan is now to get camel, come back, make camel tagine, and then eat it at Sayeed's house. It's gonna be fun. The markets, bloody hell, the markets are incredibly confronting. Nothing can prepare you for this, especially coming from a place like this where everyone gives each other as much space as possible. Here it doesn't matter. You've got someone on the side of the road selling coriander and parsley and whatever vegetables they've got. And it's just normal. It's just normal. And I happened to settle upon this guy who had a rather professional looking outfit. And with some ropey French, I managed to get what I wanted. Made it a little bit easier with this guy who spoke some even ropier Spanish, but then, hey, it turns out he also spoke English enough to sell me one of these. It's like a little leather money pouch that sort of like collapses in on itself. Quite cool, but I don't need it, but he helped me out, so that was really lovely. So I didn't actually end up with any camel because I couldn't find any camel heads. I don't know if it's just not that common a meat to eat, but I ended up with this guy. I got a big lump of mutton and a bit of bone, which I'm assuming is for flavor. So after getting that and a bit of walnuts and everything I needed, I headed back to the Riyadh to my beautiful kitchen. Tiny knife. We meet again, you devil. I swear, what is it with places and these little bloody knives? This place is so well put together, and yet we still end up with a tiny little knife. So the plan today is I've just been to the Medina. I'm exhausted, I'm not gonna lie. It's a bit of an experience trucking your way through there. But I managed to get all the ingredients I wanted, except for camel. I was told to look out for camel heads. And that would be an indication of whether they had camel or not. They hang them outside their shop, and depending on what they've got in stock. But I think what I ended up with was lamb or mutton. But I've got a range of ingredients, and those are all going to get put into a tagine, and I've got a choice of 3. Whoa, 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 whoa. So with my tiny knife, I wrangled my market haul. Oranges, walnuts, prunes and parsley, tomatoes, potatoes, garlic, courgettes. It really was a struggle with that knife. I mean, come on. It's like a rocket engine. So with a little bit of oil, I gave that garlic a bit of a toasting, and then got to work hacking up that mutton. Basically what I'm going to do with those 2 bits of bone is I'm going to nestle them in the bottom of the tagine and let that bone marrow melt out and help add to that sauce. So once that garlic starts to take on a bit of colour, I'm going to stop the cooking process. That's going a bit too far. I'm going to stop the cooking process by dumping in our tomato. So here are my dates. I'm just going to put a few of those in, not many. From my understanding, they're quite sweet. So as you can see, I've loaded up with my spices here. Got a bit of paprika, some black pepper and some ginger. I'm going to give that a mix in, and then we'll put the softer veggies on top. So the meat's in. We've got a bit of parsley on top for freshness. All the flavours are underneath. Hoping that the meat's going to drip down onto the potatoes and be delicious. Meanwhile, let's grab that lid. And we'll see how it goes. Looks like prayers started. So, slight derailment here. Well, not derailment actually. Changing tracks. So that in there was orange juice. I'm going to try and make a syrup out of the orange juice that will sort of be able to candy my walnuts. So make orange candied walnuts, hopefully like a little sweet garnish to put on top. So there's a tannery like just over the way there, so quite close to where we are. And here's a bit of meat. I'm convinced that they think I'm just feeding them leather. It's more tender than it was before, but it's certainly not tender now. If I have succeeded at anything today, it would be these orange candied walnuts. They are so damn good. Could eat a whole bowl of those. I can only vouch for the walnuts, but we'll see how it goes. How was it? It's good?
Good.
Yeah?
Good, yes, it's good.
What would you, how would you say, in French, how would you say, what would you change?
Ah, est-ce qu'il y a quelque chose qui peut faire différent pour faire Medina?
This
Ou
one,
c'est, yeah.
wow, everything it's good.
Oh.
Yeah, several, right?
Yeah?
Several, everything.
And
Wow.
I know it's
La sauce, it's okay.
Yeah?
Patatas, sweets, لحم. It's المهم مزيان لذيذ.
Wow. Nothing to change.
La sauce, it's
Yeah. All right.
several.
All right.
Good.
Yeah.
واحد جوج ثلاثة لذيذ جدا. Hooray.
This was a celebration to mark the end of a spiritual period, and I think the food was fairly well received. Although now that I think about it, if you hadn't eaten from sun up to sundown every day for a month, I think I'm fairly sure I would receive any food fairly well, but I'm quite happy with it, to be honest. So the day after, we got out and about with Sayeed's mate, this guy who insisted on doing this pose, this exact pose. I did not tell him to do that. First to the tannery, where we took in the smell and the knowledge. The hides have a bath in cow piss, and then a bath in pigeon shit, coloured, and then draped in the sunshine to let it dry out. This is the natural way, and later in the shop I bought this poof. Cost about as much as these workers should get for what they endure. We got to see some colourful weaving, and here's this guy's business card because chicken luggage will not allow space for one of these bad boys. Yay! We visited some more shops, haggled and hustled before hiking to the top near the ruins to get an overview of the city. And wow, what a view! What a view!
Best view, my friend. Huh?
Best view,
All best, yeah.
and we've got the prayer. And just like that, it was over. Our little excursion to Fez needed to come to an end eventually, and we had to get back on the train and back to Casablanca. Having been to Fez now, I could see Casablanca in a bit of a new light. Oh yeah, like so I was thinking about this. How do you fix it? Like, you asked the
MacGyver tapes in the world.
Exactly, it's like, it's sad because you can see what it used to be, but you asked the right question: where the fuck do you start? Like how? Yeah, I tried to frame up this shot nicely, but it's not the easiest. So this seemingly abandoned stadium is what you're gonna get. Having been to now Fez and Casablanca, it's interesting to see that you've got two cities that are completely different but are held together by the same technique. Wishful thinking and ingenuity, but in Fez, it actually works and it's charming. But here, well, here I'd say it is simply not working. This place is a crumbling behemoth. It's falling down faster than they can fix it. And as a result, it just seems to be caught in this constant state of renovation. It's kind of interesting, but in the same breath, I don't know if it quite works. But I desperately want it to. And I feel like if the city could match the people and their positive and bright and vibrant outlook, it could be something amazing, but it just simply isn't. So if you come here, and I'm not saying don't come here, but if you do come here, just look for the details. It's the same thing as Fez. You got to look at the details, but here you're looking for different details. Here you're trying to assess a way of life, and you're trying to see something that is most likely different to the way you live. Because a city is more a collection of people than a collection of buildings. There's always a bright note though. When you go around to someone's house for dinner and you walk away with something they've cooked. This is like a sweet sesame caramelized sort of roasted paste thing. It's like halwa, but more delicious. And so I can sit here on my crappy balcony and eat something exceptionally tasty. Sweet, nutty, fantastic. Life is good.